So I like to see it as more continuous than that. And that's what, write 15 minutes a day, even if you think it's terrible. If you think it's terrible, first of all, it's probably not as terrible as you think. And the more you come back to it and work on it, I think it gets better. For almost anyone, really. I also think you need to give up on the fact that anything you're gonna produce is gonna be Jane Austen or James Joyce or Shakespeare or Amos Oz or Tolstoy. Like, my wife, my spouse is writing a biography right now of George Eliot, who is one of the greatest novelists in the English language. Non-English, I mean, people know Dickens more than Eliot, but academically, many people respect Eliot more than Dickens for a lot of reasons. And I'm reading Middlemarch, which is supposedly her great masterpiece. It was a woman, George Eliot was a pen name for some complicated reasons. It wasn't just because she was a woman and had to hide behind a man's persona. Actually, more novels were being published that were written by women at that point than were being written as by men. But nonetheless, so I'm reading Middlemarch, which, we've been married 20 years, and sort of the joke between us is she's never read Paradise Lost. My PhD is in English Renaissance literature, and I'd never read Middlemarch. So it was like, it's time for me to finally read Middlemarch since you're writing this biography. And the thing about Middlemarch is, even when a certain stretch isn't that interesting to me, on every single page, there's a quotable line that you could take out and make an aphorism. Why? Because she's brilliant. And I'm reading it and I'm like telling my spouse, this is depressing. Like, I can't do this. And she's looking at me saying, why do you think you're George Eliot? Like, this is a generational talent. I think we have to be humble. Nothing I'm going to write at its best is going to be George Eliot. And if I let that stop me, I'll never write anything. And who knows if, 50 years from now, somebody reads it, maybe they'll say, who do you think you are? You're not going to be wise for it. But I accept whether later on people judge my texts to be great or not. I work with the idea that I'm making them as most the writing that I want to be writing as possible. And that gets better as I work on it. My daughter, who's 11, asked me recently, when is your book going to be finished? And I was like, never. She said, what do you mean, never? You're not going to try and publish it? I'm like, I'm trying to publish it right now. I have agents reading it right now who I hope will take it and sell it, and it'll be published. She's like, okay, so then when it's published, it'll be finished. And I'm like, no, I'll be finished working on it, but the book will